Hello, everybody. How are you? I am good.
Hey, everybody. It is Wednesday, February 3rd, and this is In Case You Missed American History. Well, if you're watching this, I'm going to assume that you weren't in class today, not just wanting to see me one more time for a little while. And if you missed, hey, that's okay. I hope you're doing well. I hope those around you are doing well, and I hope that you are, I guess, getting ready for some bad weather from what I hear. I'm not sure exactly what days, but it's supposed to be super duper cold. And then I think we're supposed to get at least one night of pretty heavy snow. So I don't know. We'll see how that all plays out. I can deal with the snow. The super duper cold is not going to be much fun. So here's the deal today. I'm going to run you through everything we talked about today in class. We're going to get started on World War One and do some reminders and all that kind of fun stuff. And then if you have any time left, planned for American history, don't forget about that World War One from home assignment that's due Friday by midnight. So here we go. Here's reminders. Obviously, I just said that World War One from home assignment's due on Friday by midnight. If you're having any problems, trouble, questions, anything about that, please reach out. I'll help you out. Do make sure and watch those two videos that I linked at the start of it. They're both YouTube videos. I think they total up to like 13 and a half minutes total. And I think they do a pretty good job of running you through World War One in a not very boring way. Okay. Second reminder, make sure that you get in any late work you owe me. Modern Day Progressives being the main one. That was the one with the short reading and then watching the poem. So go ahead and answer those questions. Get them into me if you haven't already. And then last but not least, did you take that test last week? Did you take the progressives test? Because I'm going to be getting those done hopefully today, maybe tomorrow, and getting those scores back to you. So please make sure that you've taken that. If you don't know how to get the link to that, just reach out to me and I'll get it for you. All right. So today what we're going to do is we're going to look at the start of World War One, and we're going to talk a little bit about the causes of the war. This unit on World War One is going to be relatively quick, barring any missed snow days or anything. I think we'll probably be done with it like next Tuesday or Wednesday, so it'll be about a week. Again, any time you have left for American history, use it to do some work if you need to. And if you have any questions, as always, please reach out to me if needed. Okay. All right, here we go. So World War One goes by a lot of different names. Obviously, today we talk about it as World War One. You may commonly see it as this WWI or WW1. The reason they do an I is it's a Roman numeral for one. I assume you probably know that, but just in case. But at the time that it was fought, they didn't really know that there was going to be a World War II or anything like that. And so they kind of commonly called it two other names back then. They called it the Great War. Great like big, not great like fun and awesome. But also the war to end all wars. Okay. When this happens, you're still living in a time period where war was seen, and I'm not saying it's not in some ways still today, but war was seen as this like honorable way to get a medal that you could show off to your friends and family and impress people. And it was a great way to get a political career going. And I think that the focus on what war was and what it could be wasn't maybe what we see today. Okay. The other thing I wanted to tell you a little bit about World War One before we get started is I think that one of the things about World War One is it makes sense. Okay. Well, it doesn't make sense like, well, this is a great idea to fight it, but it makes sense like if you get confused, just think about like drama that you've seen at school. Okay. Because it's very much like that. It's very much like two sides of people who are bickering back and forth, and some of the people don't even know why they're mad at the other people, but they're friends with somebody. So it very much is like middle school or high school drama that happens. I really think World War One has that aspect that makes it a little bit easier to understand. So if you ever get trapped in this chapter, like I don't know what happens next, or I don't understand why they react the way they do, don't make it so hard. Don't make it about Austria, Hungary, and Serbia. Make it about, this group of kids over here in the lunchroom and this group of kids over here in the lunchroom. And I think you may understand it a little bit better. Okay. All right. So some intro stuff. First of all, this is the map of Europe before the war starts. Okay. And so some special things I want to point out here is obviously you've got France right here, who's going to be a major part in this war, and kind of, semi-centrally located, pretty big country. You've got the United Kingdom, or England, up here as an island. Some of you guys may or may not have known that was an island. You've got the Russian Empire over here, plays this huge part over here in green. By the end of this war, they won't be Russia anymore, and they'll be the USSR. But then kind of the major players that you may or may not know about this is Germany here, or the German Empire. Much bigger at the beginning of the war than it is at the end. This country that doesn't exist anymore, called Austria-Hungary. Austria-Hungary was once this big empire that at the end of the war gets split into a bunch of different countries. And you have this little green place down here called Serbia. Okay. Now, obviously, I don't know how much you know about the map of Europe or any of these countries, but those are going to be kind of some of the big players that are coming up while we're doing this. Okay, so World War I was a worldwide conflict, and when I say worldwide, the fighting pretty much happens within this bubble of what we can see here. The one Navy battle happens up here, but there are some Navy things that happen out this way. There is some fighting that happens in Africa. There's a little bit of fighting that happens over here in the Middle East, down in the Ottoman Empire or Turkey. But over that way a little bit too. But the reason why I say it's a worldwide conflict is because so many countries from around the world get involved. Now, it lasted from 1914 to 1918, so a 4-year war. I guess you would say that's kind of a medium-length war-ish. It's about the same length as a civil war. Now, we are not, the United States, when I say we, are not in this the entire time. We join up in kind of mid-early 1917, and we fight it until the end, which is in November of 1918. So not a very long war for us, even though we're kind of involved the entire time, not from a fighting standpoint though. Okay, roughly 32 different nations take part in the war. Now it's a little tricky getting an exact number of places because like some places were colonies, and so they sent soldiers on behalf of themselves for England, for instance. Okay, and like I said, it's fought in Europe, Africa, and the Middle East for the most part. There is not any fighting that happens in the United States, so you don't have to worry about like the Battle of New York or anything like that. That's not going to happen this time. Now the U.S., like I said, is involved throughout though. We're neutral. I'm going to air quote neutral, and we'll talk about why in a second, but we're neutral for most of the war, for really the kind of the first 3 years, let's say. And when I say that we're neutral, what I really mean is that we're trading with both sides, or at least we're trying to. We're using this as an opportunity to make money, but our trading isn't truly equal to both sides. As we get into this a little bit more, you'll see that there are two sides. There are the Allies and there are the Central Powers. The Allies are the England, France, Russia group of people, and the Central Powers are the Germany, Austria, Hungary, Ottoman Empire, Bulgaria group. And we really, if you look at this map, I think hopefully you understand that we're over. Hang on, I got to remember what you got to point. We're over here, okay, map wise, and so it's a lot easier for us to trade with the Allies, and things get done that make it really hard for us to trade with the Central Powers. And so to call us neutral, maybe in the absolute beginning we are, but there is definitely some favoritism in trade. And then we become an active combatant in 1917, like I said. One of the really important things I want to throw out right here, and so you get a little bit of a perspective on why this is important, because this war seems, well, it's over 100 years ago, so it doesn't seem as big. There's not as many movies made about it. There's just not as much. The History Channel isn't all about World War I. It really, when it shows history now, it shows World War II. But the reason why this is important is not only do lots of people die, not only does the map change, not only does the type of governments that these countries have change, but also it's a major cause of World War II. Okay, you even have a German soldier in a trench named Adolf Hitler who is fighting, who is disappointed about the loss, and uses that as a major motivation to do Hitler things later on in the semester for us and later on in history for him. Europe in 1914, though, was really where the power was in the world. I mean, the United States, sure, we were getting to be a little bit of a big deal, but we still weren't there. All right. And so Europe was kind of the big cultural center of the world. It was where the most stable governments and some of the oldest governments in the world were. It was seen as like the cool place to be. And it was really dominated by England, France, and Germany. Now, when you look at things, England had the best navy. They live on an island. They kind of have to. Germany had kind of a unique navy because they were starting to build what they called U-boats or submarines, undersea boating. So they had that. France was there in the navy. They had one. Army-wise, Germany probably has the best on the ground, boots on the ground military that you're dealing with. England and France both pretty decent by world standards. From a manufacturing standpoint, all of these countries were really good when it came to factories and production and building things. Okay, and then Russia's just huge. So there you go. Now, this is in a way, this war is like a rivalry of cousins, which is going to sound really weird. But obviously, royalty, monarchies were what was going on in most of this place, and you had these people that were cousins. You had Kaiser Wilhelm II in Germany, all right? You had the Tsar of Russia, Tsar Nicholas, and then you had the King of England were all like first cousins, and they had grown up together. I think there was even a thing that like the King of England and the Tsar of Russia had like matching tattoos or something. And so in the end, one of these countries ends up on I'm going to go bad guy side, while two of these countries end up on the good guy side. We'll air quote good guy and bad guy. I'll let you decide, but I always put the United States on the good guy side because, hey, man, that's what I'm teaching. Okay? All right, so a little bit of an intro. Now, obviously, wars don't start for no reason. No one just goes, hey, let's start a war. Let's go. Why? Screw it. Let's do it. And so I want to give you one simple slide on causes. There's a lot of causes of World War I. I'm going to give you 5, okay? And I tried to make it easy. I gave you a little, they call it a mnemonic device or a way that you can remember at least what letters things start with, okay? And so the causes of World War I are mania, okay? Craziness, mania, all right? The first one is called militarism, okay? And that's where countries build up their military to prepare themselves for war. These countries in Europe were stockpiling weapons, artillery, your big guns, bullets, navies, all the supplies you would need for soldiers. And especially Germany was their factory production on these things was crazy. And so the philosophy here is this. I don't know. I didn't buy all these face masks to not use them. I didn't go to the grocery store on Saturday and buy Italian sausage for it to rot in my fridge. I didn't buy my car for it to sit in my driveway and rust. If you're going to spend a lot of money on something, you're probably going to use it. And if you spend a whole lot of money on something, it is probably going to become some of the focus of what you do. You go out and spend big money on a boat, you better get in a boat this summer, or you better go water skiing, you better go fishing. And so all these countries were like building up these huge militaries, and like you're not going to spend all that money and use them. And then when it becomes like your big expenditure thing, you almost have to use it. And it becomes the focus of what those countries are proud of. The second cause, the A in mania, is alliances, okay? So there's different kinds of alliances. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's different kinds of agreements between countries. You have an entente. An entente's like, I'm your friend, but I don't have your back, okay? We'll hang out in class, we'll chuckle, we'll talk. We may even sit on the same lunch table. But if a fight breaks out, good luck. Go get them. I'll pat you on the back. Yay. All right. I'll laugh at you if you lose. I'll cheer with you if you win, but I'm not helping. And then there's alliances. Alliances are where you not only are friends, but you have to have that person's back no matter what the situation. Okay. And so if I have a really good friend that I have an alliance with, and he decides to walk into a bar full of people and start throwing punches, I have to go, oh crap, this is going to hurt. But I have to walk in there and help him, or, something like that. So if you think about it, you probably have friends that you have ententes with, and you probably have friends that you have alliances with. And so the reason why this is a big deal is this makes a small war impossible. Okay. This makes a one-on-one war impossible. Again, think about maybe middle school drama. Very rarely do 2 middle school girls or 2 middle school guys go after each other one-on-one. There are groups involved. You get situations where like this group of girls is mad at this group of girls, except it really started as a one-on-one issue, something said online, somebody talked to somebody's boyfriend, who knows? But all of a sudden these groups of people are mad at each other moving forward, okay? And so that makes a limited war impossible. So the military, you're going to use it. The alliances, There's too many people involved not to have kind of a bigger war than you would have. Then you have nationalism. That's pride or devotion to one's country. Now, I want to emphasize something here. That looks like the definition of patriotism, but nationalism is almost when it goes too far. Okay, these countries really believed that they were all the best, that they were number one, that they were, in social Darwinist terms, they were just the dominating place, and therefore they deserve to expand. They deserve to be number one in the economy. They deserve to have the best military, and maybe even deserve to take over chunks of each other's countries. I'm going to go back really quick. Like, for instance, this Austria-Hungary place is made up of people from all over the place. There's Italians over here. There's Germans up here. There's Polish people here. There's a bunch of Serbians down here. And even though these Serbian people lived in Austria-Hungary, they thought Serbia was like the best thing ever. And so that caused problems that kind of ripped some of these countries apart in ways. Okay. That's the N in mania, nationalism. The I is imperialism. Okay, now we talked about this before. Imperialism is when one country goes out and it starts taking over other places. The problem is that's a competition. Okay, if I put $100 bills around the school and told you it was a free-for-all and whatever you found you could have, you guys would go into competition against each other. And if two of you guys got near a $100 bill at the same time, that might turn into a conflict. And so places like Germany and Italy and France and Russia and England were out there competing for the same colonies. And so sometimes that caused even bigger rivalries around the country, or one more thing to cause the drama because they believed that they were the best, nationalism. And they had all these allies, alliances, and they had all these militaries hanging around, militarism. So all these things kind of tie together. Now, the thing is, though, those have all existed for a while. And I'm not going to say things have been peaceful, but they've definitely not gone to the point of World War I. And really, you need a catalyst. You need an event that kind of makes everybody go, uh-oh. The old term is it's the straw that broke the camel's back. Okay? You're holding 12 grocery bags from Woodman's on one hand, but the second you get that 13th one, you can't hold it anymore and they fall to the ground. It's not that 13th bag was too much. It's that all the bags were too much. The 13th bag just did you in. And that event is the assassination of the Austro-Hungarian Archduke, Franz Ferdinand. Now, Franz Ferdinand was like second in line for the throne of Austria-Hungary. The emperor was old. He was well loved. And basically, to take the story down a little bit, Austria-Hungary is right here. Serbia is right here. Down here in this part, like I just said, there are Serbian people who want to be part of Serbia. A Serbian terrorist group called the Black Hand plots to kill the Archduke and the Archduke's wife when they come down to this town called Sarajevo. And so this terrorist group from Serbia called the Black Hand pick out 5 college students. They're all dying of tuberculosis. And they give those people the weapons needed to assassinate the Archduke and the Archduchess. They pull it off. Okay, they kill the Archduke. They kill the Archduchess. And instead of Austria-Hungary blaming a terrorist group like we might today, they blame Serbia. And so we have this rivalry. Now we have the straw that breaks the camel's back. Now we're going to pull in all of our allies. Now we're all going to use our militaries we built up because we think we're number one. And the war is mania. Okay? So you might, in a college class, you might have a college professor go through 25 causes of World War I, and that's great. But for what we're doing, 5 works, mania works. So there you go. All right, that's going to be it for today. I'm going to, again, be there if you need any help on your homework, or if any of this was confusing for you, please let me know. Have a great day. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.